Okay, now we're going. I'm sorry. Little technical difficulties to start. We're going now. I'm going to ask the exact same question. I'm going to give the exact same intro. So here we go. So yeah, like I said before the microphones weren't on, I feel lacrosse was introduced to you guys at a young age. I started playing when I was like 15. You guys I hated playing against you because you guys were incredible. But you also brought the best out of me competition-wise. So I feel like lacrosse was introduced to you at a young age. I was like 15. How old were you guys, and how was the game introduced to you guys at a young age?
Our dad is from Vancouver, from Burnaby. He grew up there, grew up playing lacrosse. His two younger brothers, they both played in the WLA, and so we got exposed to lacrosse probably between like 8 and 10. Just doing family trips out west, we'd always pick up a stick. We have a cousin that's our age, Bryson, and that was our first introduction. And every time we'd go out, we'd always go watch games, and we'd always have a stick in our hands. And then we actually brought lacrosse sticks back from Vancouver to Halifax because you couldn't get anything here in the city. And then we would just start playing at Oxford School, just throwing the ball against the wall. That was the easiest place to do it. Our grandmother lived right next door.
Cool.
And Ian Higgins and John Gogan and all those guys were out that area too, and they got into it eventually, and that's where we kept playing, was in Oxford and Lordsbrook box and stuff like that. So
you guys had a group of friends at a young age that played. Mm-hmm. See, I didn't have that. Mm-hmm. It was Jasper that lived one street over. But everyone has a wall, I find. Everyone has like a school, a wall that they always go to.
Yeah.
And your guys' was Oxford.
At first, because like we would just be at our grandmother's house, and it was so easy to just bring our sticks with us. We always had our sticks everywhere that we went. It was just nice to have your stick in your hand, but we just wanted to have it with us all the time too. So if we knew we were going to be by anywhere that had a brick wall or a concrete slab, we would try to bring our sticks with us so we could just be always practicing and trying to get better.
There was another spot that we always used to use too in Herring Cove. There's a volunteer fire department.
Hall, yeah.
And they have a basketball court, and we used to go play ding the post.
Well, oh, really?
Yeah.
That would work on your aim.
Yeah, so aiming straight up and down you got to hit the post. If you don't,
I remember that feeling when you talked about when you first started playing lacrosse, and you would always have your stick in your hands. Mm-hmm. I had that feeling too. It was almost like any other sport. You carry a football, basketball. When you first start playing, I always had my stick in my hand, and to this day, I think that's what made me a better player at a young age, just always having my stick in my hand.
Well, you just get more and more used to the movement of the stick in your hand and the feel, and it just makes it so much easier when you're on the floor, because you don't have to think about what you're doing.
Of course.
Yeah, we got to a point where we had enough people at like our elementary school who were playing, and they all got introduced to it, and it was a lot of hockey guys too, right? They didn't have much to do in the summer. Either they played soccer, or they maybe did like hockey camps and stuff like that in the summer, but we tried to expose lacrosse as like an opportunity to like still be really active, do stuff that's going to make you better at the sport that you like at that point, which was hockey. And we got a lot of guys coming out with cut out the palms of their hockey gloves so they could feel the stick a bit better. And we just had a lot of guys at school doing it. So we got to the point where we would like bring our sticks to school and throw the ball around at whatever recess and lunch and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was, at our school, it was Wayne Fink. You guys know Wayne, right?
Yeah, of course.
So at Rockingham, he was the one that introduced lacrosse to our school. And then like you guys just said, then everyone saw the stick, wanted to start playing. Some kids fell off because they were not tough enough, I guess, whatever. And then some kids kept going. So who was like the Wayne Fink for you guys? Because he was the introducctor to, I think it was your father?
I think it was our dad.
Yeah, definitely.
He was the one who started, those days it was the Herring Cove Lacrosse Club before it became the Halifax Southwest Hurricanes. Okay. So he was kind of one of the
pioneers for our area anyway.
For sure. Yeah. And he just did such a good job of getting us to fall in love with it, and then being kind of ambassadors for the area and getting more guys involved, and like guys who are diehard hockey players, we got them out and running around and throwing the ball around, and then they started really liking it too, and it just kind of spread like that, and it was kind of like a bit of wildfire for a new sport in the city, which is really cool to see. But
It was wildfire. I remember that first summer I played. Every single hockey guy that I played with was out there.
Yeah.
And like I said, some fell off, some stayed. But for that first year, maybe even second year, everyone played.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever have the experience of like talking to someone that didn't play that long, and they're like, I could have played this game? Like they always hold a stick, like I should have played. I should have.
Always.
Like whenever
I
here,
still run into people in Quebec, and they're like, "Man, I always wanted to play, but like we never had an opportunity here." And it's weird to hear that from Quebecers because, well, they don't really play that much.
It's not popular in Quebec.
Not that much. It's getting a bit better, but like overall, I would say it's not at the same level as even Nova Scotia.
Really,
Yeah.
I would have thought. I would have thought different.
You see a lot of guys like pick it up like it's an egg and a spoon, and they want to throw it around. And it's fun. It's fun to see people get exposed like that, but you're always kind of like giggling in the background because you know what it takes to actually like play at a high level, and they want to just jump right into it, and that's great too. But
they think they think they can take you on, but they've never played. They're like, yeah, but I played football, and it's not quite the same thing, man.
Well, we've had, because when we went to school at Bishop's, we had lots of practices and lots of guys who are exposed to the sport, and we had some guys try to cross over from other backgrounds, and they kind of fell off too. They didn't make the cut. They
were there for a little bit, but
a lot of running, a lot of hand-eye coordination, a lot of contact, and it takes a different type of guy to play a bit.
Yeah, well, that was my next question, is because before I even played lacrosse, I played hockey, and I found not a lot of my skill set in lacrosse translated over from hockey, but definitely a good chunk of it. Did you guys ever play another sport before jumping right into lacrosse?
Yeah, a lot of soccer growing up.
That would help.
Yeah, just with like running and footwork, and I mean,
hockey was our main sport as well, though.
Was it?
Like I played hockey until I was 12 years old.
Talking to the mic, sorry.
Sorry. So I played hockey until I was 12 years old, and then after that, I just kind of fell off of hockey because I got introduced to lacrosse, and lacrosse was going to be my main sport from now on. I just fell in love with it. So.
Yeah, I remember, I don't know how old we were, but I think at a certain point, like our parents kind of sat us down and were like, okay, like you guys need to make a choice here between soccer or lacrosse. And because it was the same season, so we were missing lacrosse games to go play soccer and vice versa.
Okay.
And so at a certain point, our parents are just like, driving probably all over the province trying to get us to different sports events for two sons, like in the almost same age. So we had to make a choice, and we had actually like a really good conversation. I remember it about which sport we would want to choose, and ultimately we picked lacrosse. And I think it was like one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, my short life. But yeah, like the conversation we had was, there's so many kids playing soccer, and for a Canadian soccer player, there's not a ton of opportunity to like go too far with a sport. You can go play university, but even those spots are like pretty coveted. They're hard to come by. They're hard to get scholarships for. And then for lacrosse, like if you're a Canadian playing lacrosse and you can go anywhere in the world and tell someone you're a Canadian lacrosse player, there's probably a community there for you that's going to, take you in and let you come and play with them, or whatever. So there was so much more opportunity for us with this sport to keep going with it, and then to kind of leave soccer behind and just keep playing hockey for fun. But yeah, that was kind of like a nice turning point for us to take a sport seriously and run with it.
That's good. I remember playing the game for the first time, like coming away from hockey, because I was always a one sport athlete, and being able to jump from sport, because I never played any other sports.
Oh no,
soccer, nothing. I played soccer for like 20 minutes. It wasn't that. And I just remember, being able to jump over from sport to sport and just being ecstatic, because honestly, in my opinion, I thought I was more skilled at lacrosse than I was hockey, and I just loved it so much more. And once it was actually funny, once I had a conversation with your dad and Sean Harrison, and I actually learned the game, because I knew the game but I didn't know the game, you know what I mean, like the systems and all that thing. And then the passion that your dad talked about the game and how it was played back then, that was honestly a whole nother aspect I'll never forget. It was that team when we went to BC when we were young, and he kind of gave the team a little bit of history about the game and within the
put
province.
Some spirit into all of us. That was
and at a young age with a new sport, I think in hockey's like going to be my sport and things like that. And hearing that from another, guy like your dad, I was hooked right then and there. Mm-hmm. It's like they say when you're a surfer and you catch a wave for the first time, you're addicted. Mm-hmm. Well, when I put a ball in the back of a net for a lacrosse game, I was hooked instantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mm-hmm. You do that a few more 1,000 times, and you got an issue.
A good issue.
Hard to let go.
So let's talk about Bishops here. That's what do I say? Like a heavyweight. It's a great school to play lacrosse at. Mm-hmm. By the way, love the jerseys, the purple and the stripe. Oh yeah, you guys love them too. I'm guessing
those are good.
We did some work to get those jerseys.
What do you mean?
I guess it was my third year. We started a board of directors, and I was on that board of directors for the lacrosse team, and we just we knew we had something there. We knew we had a really great team going into the next season, and we wanted to look the part too. So I think there was probably 6 members on the board of directors, and we made a real effort to work with Nike to get full packs. So we had everything like sweatpants, shorts, t-shirts, shirts, long sleeves, sweaters, and then the jerseys. We had everything put together, and we were really happy about it because we look good.
Yeah. Oh, they're fantastic jerseys.
We played the part.
Look good, feel good, play good. So
I'm a huge believer in that, by the way.
Me too.
It's true.
Yeah.
So what was it like going to school up there? You guys like it?
It was an experience of a lifetime.
Everyone says that. It was an experience.
That was my second best decision in my life. It was I'm obviously older than Andre, so but we started doing combines in through northeastern Ontario or northeastern US, because my goal is to go to the States to play any divisional lacrosse, NCAA, and so we started going to do different combines all through Maine and Vermont and New Hampshire and Massachusetts and all this kind of stuff. And we got to meet a lot of different coaches and play against kids from everywhere. We played against kids from Texas and California and
Long Island, everywhere.
And all these hotbeds for lacrosse and great players. And we kind of got exposed to a different world there. And
in what sense? How did you get exposed to a different world? Just hearing stories
everybody
from them?
here plays box style lacrosse, and in the States they play field style lacrosse, and it's a completely different style.
Yeah,
it's more slow and set up, and then
more
fake dodges, soccer, right? And it's more like a mind game, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was really cool to actually see a completely different style of play, and like you said, a little bit more kind of lethargic, but they're fast and they can shoot from anywhere and they'll score from any angle, and to just see the sport a little bit differently like that. And coming from Nova Scotia, everyone kind of has a very similar style of play. So actually to get to try a different way, to get to run against long poles, bigger sticks, and to shoot on a bigger net, you just you get an extra sense of how to play the sport differently, basically. But when we were doing these combines, we got to meet all these different coaches from JUCO and Division 1, 2, and 3, and then happened to meet some Canadian coaches there too. And one of the coaches at the time, Paul Lehman, was the Bishops coach, and so we started chatting with him, and really at the end of the day, it came down to money. And for a very similar sport experience, we were able to stay in Canada, go to school for a quarter of the price, and play at a really great program. So there was later, a few months later or whatever, we had some another Bishops coach come to Halifax to do an advanced coaching course, and I think it was the under 19 field team got to run with them. And that was just a second exposure to the same coach. And at that point, I kind of knew that I was going to go there. And then I went up and did a visit, and they played 2 games in a weekend, and they smoked both the teams. I think it was Queens and Carleton, and they just dusted them. And I was like, I think I can do this.
This is a legit team.
I'm going to come here for sure.
When you're talking about going away to these other places and playing lacrosse against great players, have you guys ever had any really humbling experiences? Because our first international tournament that I ever played, when we went to BC and played against Ontario, one of the most humbling, frustrating experiences of my life, because coming from Nova Scotia, there's not that many people, and we're considered better
big fish here.
Exactly.
And you go to the big
and then I just remember playing against Ontario and BC and just being like, my life is nothing. Like, I'm nothing. I am absolutely nothing. So you guys
That's
are great.
not true, Justin.
Yeah. I appreciate that. But you guys, have you guys ever had a humbling experience, like a story, maybe going away in the States, playing against some best world talent, anything like that?
Well, a really big humbling experience for me was when I went to Orangeville, Ontario, because those guys were incredible players.
Guys.
It's a completely different level than anything I've ever seen.
So give me like that. What does that mean, next level? Because when I look at your stick skills and I look at the way you
next
play
level
the
means
game,
that they're still playing today. They're playing in the NLL.
Oh, okay. I
And
thought you meant back then. Okay.
Well, back then they were already
NLL
ready to go to the NLL. Like, they knew they were going to go.
So then what's the difference between an NLL player and you guys right now? Because when I'm watching or not you guys now, but when you played,
they don't have to think at all. They just know. Like, they've been through every situation that can ever happen in a game. So they've already experienced it, and they know the proper way to deal with the experience. Like, if it's a 2-on-0 or a 2-on-1 or whatever, they already know what they have to do. They don't have to think. Which is not the same thing that happens here, because we haven't had that many games compared to them. So when we're on a playing defense, two guys coming down on us, we're like, do I go for the ball? Do I go for the pick up the other guy? And they just already know. So then they don't have to worry about that. So then they can think about, maybe I can, as I'm doing this, I can try and like pick off the pass, or like they just have a different step that they can do, because they don't have to think about the first step that we still have to think about.
Yeah, they're in like flow state.
Yeah.
When you get in the zone, and you like, we've all been there where you have like such a great game and everything is going well.
Yeah.
For them, it's like always like that. They're doing above and beyond what we're doing at our best. Right. And it's just, like you said, it's just time and exposure and reps, and they've just had more time playing against better guys. And I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. Like, for us, when we played you guys, like Northwest, Southwest, that was always kind of like the big game for us. But then when you play in, like, no offense to these other clubs, but when you play like a Truro team and it's mostly like just hockey guys out there running around, like, that's not enough exposure to good teams for us to like improve, right?
Like, they may have one or two good players, but it's not the same thing as playing against a full squad of really good guys.
And we just played you guys all the time. Your record would be sore.
That's a low blow right there. But I know what you mean. It's if you played like a Northwest every single game, maybe you'd be a little. At least the province would be.
Like, for me, growing up, I probably wouldn't have been a very good lacrosse player if I didn't have an older brother. Because I always played with him and his friends and John Gogan and Ian Higgins and all those guys. So I was always having to step my game up to be able to hang out with them, because let's be honest, if I was really crappy, they'd be like, just stay home. So I wanted to hang out with the big boys, so that is what made me a better player. And otherwise, I'm sure I wouldn't have been as good of a player and had the opportunities that I had. But starting off, I was playing with good players or more experienced players, so I had to step my game up.
Yeah, and I think even like the opportunities to go down to do combines and stuff and like play with other guys and jump on other like rosters, and like we tried to kind of travel as much as we could with the sport. And like I did a travel team with a bunch of guys from New Brunswick at one point.
That's cool.
The Rum Runners.
Yeah, and then like
isn't that a movie?
Yeah, I think so. But it wasn't named after that. But yeah, just like trying to play with as many guys as possible. And like I always, like in the Southwest team, like I always used to play up whenever I could, like, and that was kind of my
play like up a.
Yeah, I would play like when I was in midget, I played like junior games.
Did you do the same?
Yeah, I did the same. I would always jump on their team if they needed guys.
That was so good for. I did it too with Northwest. It was just so good for development.
Because then you go back down and you're playing against guys your own size, and you're like,
and it's easy at that.
You don't hit as hard as these other guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, then like going to Bishops and then being able to like be there for the first year and kind of come back and like tell Dre about it and like tell him the experience. And when he told me that he was going to come, I was kind of, to be honest, I was like a little iffy about it. I was like, oh,
why?
Well, I think it was just kind of like, had got away from home, and I was like, you know, on my own kind of thing, and it was good. But then when Dre actually like came first semester, like I was really pumped about it. I was really excited to be able to play with him again, because at that point he had gone to New West, out like in New Westminster in Vancouver. So we like weren't playing in the same year here in Halifax. So then to like be able to get to play again at Bishop's, that was awesome. And we kind of tried to run with like the same style that we had in Southwest, where it was like Dre would feed the ball and I would try to score as much as possible. And we tried to take that same style to Bishop's, and it worked well. And like we played on the same lines together, and it was a lot of fun. It was really cool.
My first year was wicked, because Joe already established that he was a great player and a great goal scorer.
The Laleune name was...
It was already established a bit, so like they kind of gave me a shot that I don't think I would have got otherwise. Joe always like paved the road for me, and then I felt bad always, but like I got to run on the road, you know. I just got a straight line, so he kind of made it way easier my whole life in terms of lacrosse.
Just paving highways for him.
Yeah.
Trying to run through doors.
And then me just sprinting behind him. But and so like they gave me lots of great opportunities, like taking draws, being on first line midi, and like I just ran with that. And the first thing that I did when the guys were like, "Oh my God, what is this kid?" And it was when I looked off one of the top guys on the team, Mike Dubé. He was wide open, but I ripped it and scored. And they're like, "Who is this kid?" So that was like my first real one moment where they were like, "Oh, okay, he can play too."
Moment.
But I'm trying to think, wasn't there a lot of other Nova Scotia guys there on that team? Like, I'm sure your name was around there. How many?
Well, they all came in my year, basically.
Yeah.
So when
so you were the first Nova Scotia guy there?
Yeah. So when I got there, I didn't know. I only knew Ted Mills, if you remember him. He was at Bishop's for a little bit.
I didn't know that.
And then he ended up, I don't think he finished there, but when I went with another guy, Jeremy Newton. He was someone that I
know Jeremy.
That I was like doing a lot of these combines and traveling with, and his dad was like a big proponent in Dartmouth for lacrosse as well. And so we would travel a lot together, and we both got exposed to the story I was telling about meeting the Bishop's coaches. He was there for that too. So Jeremy and I went to Bishop's together. I don't think he made it past ad drop. Just wasn't for him. That's okay. But it was a lot of like to be there, and then like to go home and see all these guys that I played lacrosse with growing up, and told them, this is amazing, and the guys that I'm playing with are amazing. And they were those kind of like Orangeville, Whitby, Oshawa, Halton Hills, like all these Ontario guys who are playing in like the best programs growing up, are all in the same place in this little town in Quebec. It just made me better as a player, and like I got to bring it back to these guys, and they saw how much fun I was having. And I did good in my first year, and I was able to score lots of goals and get a lot of playing time and stuff. So
we knew that there was an opportunity there, and I pushed it on everybody else too. I said, I'm going here. I know I'm going there. Hadn't even gotten my acceptance letter yet, but I knew I was going. So all the other guys, they were like, "Oh man, like this looks like a good opportunity," and a bunch of them followed suit. And
so I think at one point there we had
again 16. Joe paving the road for everybody.
Poor Joe.
I think
recruiting.
I think we had 16 Nova Scotians on a 40-man roster.
16.
Yeah, on a 40-man roster.
That's the year that we won. We had 16 guys.
That says something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it says, but it says something like.
And they all contributed for the record. Yeah. They all played their role. Like we had a couple guys from Sackville, Jeremy Naughton, and
Mason
Geldart. Like they were
guys from our national B team.
Really?
Yeah.
Was RJ on that team?
Yeah. He was like a stay-at-home like long pole defenseman.
He's one of the guys that went in with Joe in his year.
Jeremy and Mason, like they were like short stick defend. Like it's a bit different from the box game, right? Because you have more roles basically, but everyone on the team had a role, and they all contributed, and it was really cool to see this kind of like wave of it was your age group of guys come to an established program and step into roles and play their part and like really contribute, not just ride the sideline, but actually like stop goals, play defense, score goals, you know, whatever it was that they needed to do. And they were all on that bantam team that went out west to BC, and that's where you guys got exposed. And
great tournament, by the way.
Yeah,
and you got to see those guys. Like there's probably some crossover where like you guys played.
One of the goalies for Team BC, Dylan Ward, he played in Orangeville, and I played with him in Orangeville.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that's cool. We got a picture with them, didn't? Or no, we got a picture
with the Iroquois team.
Yeah, that was a cool thing.
That was so cool.
I forgot though. Oh man, I remember we got to that tournament early and we saw them practice, and that was my first ever exposure of any lacrosse outside of Nova Scotia. And I saw the ponytails and the wooden sticks.
Ooh.
I don't know if anyone used a wooden stick at that young of an age. It might have been my first exposure to that.
Definitely. I think the only person that would have had one would have been like Wayne Fink.
Yeah,
at that time.
Yeah, only the old school guys for sure. Yeah, but they use it like it's their stick. So
do you think we played against anyone that's in the NLL now in that tournament? Do you know of anyone?
Dylan Ward.
Yeah, who did he play for?
He plays for Colorado, and then I think he plays for Denver in the MLL as well. There was probably there's probably like a percentage of guys who are at that tournament at that age who are playing pro right now.
It's like when I have friends come over and touch the lacrosse stick, they're like, oh, I could have played lacrosse. I'm the same way, but with the NLL, it's like I could have been in the NLL.
Yeah, I can tell you a bit about that too. I cut 2 years ago now, I guess it was. Like I've been personal training in Toronto now for the last 3 years, and I kind of wanted to make a push. I played senior B for the Brooklyn Merchants there, and that was a humbling experience for me. Being like a smaller guy out there, definitely like did not have my best season, and it was pretty like it was humbling and frustrating, but I felt like I could like make a push and get in better shape and try to like do a tryout for the NLL. So they do an open combine every year. You like pay to go, and they do all the like athletic testing, vertical jump, and that stuff's fun to do. But I spent probably like 4 or 5 months training at my gym for it, and like trying to get in the best possible shape that I could, and went to the open combine. And then there was an expansion team that year or the year before was the New England Black Wolves, so they were looking to get some new guys on their team, and they hosted in I think anyway, it doesn't matter, somewhere in Ontario, Grimsby, Ontario, and they had like put on like a tryout basically for them, and we got invited out to that, and I felt like I was in like the greatest shape of my life. Like I'd been training like twice a day, like with a coach and nutrition coach and everything like that, and then went and did the tryout, and like it went pretty good. Potted a few goals, played a little bit of transition, played a little bit of defense out there, tried to show as many skills as I could, but really at the end of the day, it came down to what we were talking about before, just exposure, reps, playing at that high level. So all these guys the other guys who are at this tryout are also guys who are from, Orangeville and Whitby and Oshawa and Peterborough, and they grew up just playing at a higher level. They've had more reps at that level, and it just came down to that they just had more skill than I did. They weren't necessarily more fit, but their skill is inbred at that point, right? They just do it. They don't have to think about it. It's flow state for them. So, but it was a really cool experience. And at the end of the day, like I got a lot out of even just doing the tryout and like being able to be out there with those guys. And it was a lot of fun, and there's no regrets there for sure, but cool to make the effort.
Yeah.
We'll just no, you probably couldn't have gone to the NLL.
Yes, I could have, Andre. Right? I could be there if I wanted to. I just want to do a podcast instead.
Right. Nice.
If you guys had to pick actually between box or field, what that you prefer more, what would you say?
Everybody always asks this question, and my answer is always whatever one I'm playing at the time.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
I like field more, honestly.
Really?
Just like the skills that are like my skills play better to field. I'm not a big guy, so I'm like getting banged around a lot in box. And like when I went out and played senior B in Ontario, like everybody there is 6'1", 6'2". They're all like 190 to 220. Like they're all big boys, and like I'm just, you know, every game getting injured, basically coming out with bruises everywhere. And so when I play field, I can use like speed to my advantage. I can use like being a little bit more heads up instead of kind of like rumbling around out there. So it just plays to my like skill set a bit better, and I have a bit more fun playing field. But maybe I'm soft in my old age.
That's true though, because I was always at the perfect height to get cross-checked in the head.
Happened a lot.
Yes, you were.
So straight.
Yes, you were.
I've taken many cross-checks to the face.
You have. I remember that. I want to tell a funny story about your dad, actually, that I remember for field lacrosse when I was younger, because lacrosse was still new in the province of Nova Scotia, and no one knew the rules, even the refs. So your dad would be like standing on the sidelines, and the ref would be like, "Hey, Mike, what's the call there?" And your dad would just be like, hands in the pocket. He's like, yeah, that's good, yeah." And like, I remember there was one incident. Yeah, I remember one time there was an incident where a long pole wanted to take a face off, and no one knew if you were allowed, and everyone was like, "Where's Mike?" But your dad was at the other field, so the ref had to leave the game, run over, go get Mike, and just be like, "Hey, can you come here for a sec? Is a long pole allowed to take the face off?" "Yep, he's allowed." "Okay, let's go get the game going." There was a couple funny incidences. I just remember that one in particular.
That's a good
really
one.
Funny.
Yeah.
But it's a different, it is a bit of a different like sport. There's definitely a lot of different rules going on. It's a bigger field, a bigger net. There's, you know, more people on the field, more people to manage, but yeah, different skills to the different sport for sure. That's so funny though. His contribution is far reaching.
It is.
Master Splinter.
Yeah, we kind of joke. At one point he grew a mustache, and all the Dal. He coached at Dal. He coached their first undefeated season at Dal. Yeah. And they've got an East Coast dynasty going on now that I think they've got some like 49 wins in a row or something like that.
Dal does?
Yeah, they've been crushing it there.
They have great gear too. I love their colors.
They got good kits.
They got great stuff going.
But he grew a mustache at one point, and all those guys started calling him Master Splinter. And he kind of is that, you know, he's got the wisdom, and he pushes you when you need to be pushed.
And even if you go at him, he'll just like flip you around, and you're not going the right way.
Whack you on your head.
Go the other way.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of other schools, my friend Alex Burke played at Queens, and he used to talk about some amazing schools that he used to travel to. Maybe you guys could talk about some other really nice schools that you guys went to, like what nice fields or stadiums, whatever you guys played at.
Yeah, we actually played against Alex Burke, and we
at Queens.
At Queens, yeah. So we at the end of the game, you know, we don't chat during the game, but
I was the same way, by the way.
Yeah,
that's another thing.
Always keep it professional on the field.
Can I just stop you for a sec? That's another reason why I'm happy to have you guys here as well, is because even when we played against each other, I never talked to you, and it's nothing personal. It's just the way I am. It's even today. I just don't like to talk.
We were all the same way. It's strictly business on the pitch, and then off the field, like I'd say hey to you in the rink. Hey man, like how's it going?
There's some guys that like to talk there's tons of guys I think that like to talk during the game, and I just can't do it.
To me, it depends whether it's a serious game or not. If we're just out like throwing the ball around, I'll be like, hey, like how's it going, and like give you an extra little shot. But like at that time when we were playing against each other, it was pretty serious stuff.
We took it seriously, for sure.
Yeah.
So like we all just wanted to be the best we could be, and that was the best way to get better, is to take a professional.
Exactly. And there was just a part of me that, you know, I'd like to think I'm a personable guy, and I like talking to people, obviously, with the podcast. Love, you know. Yeah. And there was a part of me was like, I know these guys, but I just can't talk to them right now. And I knew when I saw you that time at Stillwell, maybe it was a year ago. I don't know how long ago it was. Maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, I think. Yeah.
And I saw you. I was just so pumped to see you, have a beer with you, and talk to you. You too, because I don't think we've ever really had a conversation in our adult lives. So
yeah, it's true. No, it's definitely cool to look back and see how our friendship started. Because like at the beginning, we weren't friends. We hated each other because it was so shitty to play against each other.
Yeah,
that rivalry was there, but now it's like you're a grown adult, and so am I. And
one of the funniest ones was. Like, because RJ Lawrence is my same age as me. He's a Northwest guy. I was a Southwest guy. So we played against each other always, like all the way up. And I for sure both hated each other mutually the same amount. Hated playing against him. I know he hated playing against me. to the point where it was like we'd cuss each other out on the floor. Like it was rough. But then we went to school together. He came to Bishops as well. And it was like a founders, like a Nova Scotia team that we played on, and we got closer. And then he ended up coming to Bishops, and we were in the same, first year together. And then like, that's one of my best buddies.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah. And we obviously have sat down and had a similar conversation, but we were like, man, I hated playing against you. And he was saying, like, I fucking hated playing against you too. But it just, that's the way it is. Like, we took it seriously. We like kind of purposely built up these rivalries to, like you said, like pull other people up, play harder, like go harder, try to score more, try to like blast people happened as often as possible. And it just made it so much more fun.
That's what happened at Bishops the year that we won. We had such a huge inter-squad rivalry between the offense and defense, and like it would go week to week. The offense would be better this week, and then the defense would step it up, and then the defense would be better. We wouldn't score any goals during the practice, and then we'd step it up, and that's how we got that much better. But if we didn't have that rivalry, nobody's pushing anybody. But it got really serious, like on the practice like squad.
Yeah, and that was just flashbacks. RJ played long pole at Bishops, and I played like attack and midfield, so it was just back to that same rivalry. And just like Dre said, and like the same thing you said, is like you pull each other up by pushing each other further, right? So and like we came to blows at certain points in practices,
but you need that means you care. That means like,
yeah, for sure. Exactly. If we didn't have that type of intensity, it would be worse on the other side, because that guys aren't there, and they're not doing their best. They're not pushing you hard. Like you said, like they don't care about getting better. And so for like to be in that situation, it made a huge difference. But
like one of my experiences at Bishops, there was this guy, Nico Brands. He came in after us. He was a long pole guy, and he would, every single time we were doing one-on-one drills, he'd always line up against me every single time. And I hated it because he was super fast and I hated playing against him, but I also got better because of him, and he got better because I would get better. So it was back and forth.
Yeah.
And talked to him in our last year, and I was like, man, I hated you so much at the beginning. And he was like, I hated you too. But then we were just really, really good friends afterwards. Like at the end of the day, we're on the same team, and we just want to push each other to be better. So,
but yeah, playing in Quebec was an experience for sure. We were the furthest east team in the like Canadian University Field Lacrosse League, so we did a lot of traveling. Back to your initial question, but so we were all like, in my first 2 years, we went as far as Toronto to play U of T, and so that's like an 8-hour drive for us in a bus. And so we got a lot of time on the bus and like getting to know each other better, but we also got to go to all these like different campuses too. And so in my like year playing in Kufla, like we played at U of T, played at London and at Western.
Is Western nice? I heard Western has a great field.
Yeah, like we played at both of their fields. We played at this stadium for two of our games at the Nationals quarterfinal and then the final.
Did the purple contrast each other?
Yeah,
we keep interrupting you, but
we absorbed it.
There's no mix up.
No, we kind of had a bit of a running joke that it was our field because everything was in purple, and like so we were like, okay, yeah, we can do this. We're at home right now. So and we like to throw this tidbit in that a Bishop's graduate started Western.
Oh, I like that.
So it is our school.
It is, yeah.
No. Oh, you're still going with it. I like it.
But yeah, no. So we got to go, Western, Queens, Trent, Carleton. So like basically all the major cities like in Ontario, we went all through. And then our coaches were like, our one coach, Rob, is from Vermont. So we had lots of connections with schools in the States. Yeah, in the States.
Like
so we actually
did a lot of trips down to the States to play against some universities.
St. Michael's.
Name some nice schools in the States that you went to.
St. Lawrence was really nice.
Where's St. Lawrence?
It's in upstate New York. really nice campus there. St. Mike's we went to as well.
That was a cool campus too. There's like buildings or residence houses basically all around this little field.
That's kind of cool.
It's a pretty cool little like squared off area.
Yeah.
And it backs onto their like practice and game fields.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anywhere.
UVM
we went to a lot because that was like a close school for us, and we could play them in their fall season. NCAA is a bit tighter with like how often you can play and practice when you're not in season. So which was like great for us, but that they would use their games to actually play against us, and cool. It wasn't like a rivalry or anything, but it was always fun to go down and play them, and they were always close games. And
those were still humbling experiences though, because we felt like we were on the top of our game because we were destroying all the teams in our league.
Yeah.
But then we go down there and they'd beat us, and we'd be like, shit, we can still get better.
Yeah.
So like that still gave us the drive to keep that competition going again, you know, because if you're just beating all the teams in your area, well, you're like all right, we're good.
Well, that's great for your school to do that, to like take you guys down there and get that exposure.
That's all the coach though. That doesn't have anything to do with the school. That's all Rob. He
making the
Rob.
Yeah, big time. He donates so much of his time. Like I don't think he was getting paid for.
Well, yeah, that was
like
one
the
of
first 10 years that he was doing this thing.
That was one thing that we wanted to address with the board of directors that we started, was getting this guy some money. Like we were. Like some of the fees that we'd pay to play went towards gas. So because he lives in Vermont in Burlington, and it's about 2 hours of driving, and we'd practice every day, and he would drive up from Burlington every single day to come and coach.
Wow.
And all we were doing at that point was like maybe covering his gas. So he was literally donating, almost 15 to 20 hours a week just driving and coaching. And so one of the things we really wanted to address was trying to get this guy some money, because we want him to keep coming, but at a certain point, how much time can you donate? So we started to like try to give him a bit of pay, and then I think now it's a little bit more compensated at this point. But it's always been a club team. It's never been varsity, so we've always paid our team fees at the beginning of the year, and that's what goes towards our jerseys and equipment and travel expenses and all that stuff. So it's always been the team paying for ourselves.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
To have a team.
Cool.
Whereas like the football team, they get an amount from the school, from the alumni association. Basically, the alumni association gives them their money for their jerseys and equipment and travel
and their airplane
now. There's an alumni who has an airplane, and he gave that to he lets them use it basically.
Are you serious?
Because Bishops
they're
is
in the
now
AUS now.
Yeah.
So they play against.
Wait, Bishops is where now?
ALS.
AUS.
Sorry.
Yeah. So they play against like St. Mary's, and they play Acadia and St. FX.
Oh, when did that come in? When did that change?
Just last year, I think, was the first year that they did that. So they're traveling for all their games. Like if we thought 8 hours to Toronto was bad, they're like getting on a plane every weekend to come
but
down
it's still
here
shorter than 8 hours.
Yeah, you're getting on a plane.
Yeah.
Who's that alumni guy?
I don't know. He's doing well.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's got some Bitcoin or something.
Shout out to Eric.
No, I'm joking. Does Montreal still have an NLL team? The Montreal Impact? No.
Montreal Express was their name, but no, they don't have a team anymore. No.
The Toronto Rock are still there. Do you ever go to any games?
Yeah, I've been to a few games. They're pretty easy to get to.
Good fan base still.
I think it's a bit underwhelming for sure.
Oh, really?
Like the sport is still good, and it is what it always was. They just don't. There's so much going on in Toronto, and they don't have a lot of money that they put into promoting it.
Yeah.
So I think every year that I've gone, I've seen fewer people at the games, which is disappointing because they have a good team and they do really well. But there's just like, now we have like soccer, and there's Blue Jays, and there's
every sport,
Maple
football.
Leaf, and there's the basketball is doing well. So everybody's so spread thin on all these other sports in Toronto that lacrosse just kind of falls under the radar like it used to, it's disappointing.
Is it still on TV as much as it used to be though?
No. So that's the other thing too.
I hate to hear that.
It's hard to find. It's easy to get to, but people just don't know when it's happening. And
because like in Montreal, we never get any lacrosse games on TV, obviously. 'cause
Really?
Yeah.
I don't even know if we do here. I'm not. TV is a dying breed itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's some push from like Lacrosse Sports Network. They have like an app on Apple TV and stuff that you can watch the games on, and then I think there's a few other, like, they're trying to make a push for it. Like there is an NLL app for whatever, like, you know, Apple TV and that kind of stuff that you can watch games on. It's like subscription based, so there are ways to do it, but I don't think the average person isn't going to go like download an app to find a sport that they know nothing about, right? So there's no exposure. Like the best thing that happened to lacrosse was the 2001 NHL lockout, because there was nothing on
to watch
in wintertime, and so like the score had to fill that time slot. The easiest thing for them to fill it with was another sport or darts, and so that's where lacrosse got a lot more like TV exposures, because they were filling in hockey time slots the year of the lockout, and that was probably when lacrosse was its biggest here. That's when like we had the most teams, when we had the most teams at all these different age groups, and I think that was like the biggest thing that happened for lacrosse in like these other markets where it's not norm, like it was still a new sport to us. Yeah, so that's why there's bowling on and poker on TV still, is because of the NHL lockout. Unfortunately, lacrosse is not on TV anymore. Yeah, so
darts is pretty intense though, not gonna lie.
180s.
One of my favorite sports to play when I'm drinking. If you see a dartboard in a garage and you get going, I'll be there all night. That and pool. Love it. Yeah. So how do you like living out in Montreal? You're in Montreal, right?
Yeah, I'm just on the South Shore of Montreal.
So how do you like living out there? Do you speak French?
I do now, yeah.
Hey, I'm not going to try. Très bien. C'est ben oui.
Oui, ça va bien. Yeah, so that was a big change though, for sure. Like I did a bit of a French immersion, but I never finished it here, and met a French girl, and
there you go.
That's all you need.
Yeah,
that's all you need.
That'll give you the motivation to get it done. So yeah, I'm working as a plumber on the South Shore of Montreal right now.
Nice.
And, yeah, things are going well. Life's looking forward. And
so you head back today?
I head back tonight. Yeah.
Right on.
I'm back to work tomorrow.
How do you feel about who got traded there the other day to Montreal? Domi.
Yeah, do you ever Galchenyuk.
Galchenyuk. How do you feel about that?
I don't know about that. We'll see. I don't really.
Max is a good kid.
He is a good. I like him. Have you ever trained him? He's a Toronto guy.
No, I'd love to. Max, hit me up.
Yeah, you guys can plug away right now. Go, you plug away.
We'll work you out.
Yeah,
we'll work you out.
We'll work you out.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that. We'll see, but I think that's a bit of a weird trade-off, because they invested so much time in Galchenyuk, and he's starting to do well now, and then they're like,
I don't know.
We're gonna take this other guy.
I didn't even follow Montreal this year. I didn't even know how well they did.
To be honest, I didn't watch a single game.
You didn't go to a game? Oh man. Well, I guess tickets are expensive.
They are expensive.
Real expensive.
I am definitely gonna go to a game
this year,
next season.
Got to.
2020 plans.
We'll give them a chance, because I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's not going very well. Nobody seems to be watching Montreal from home anyway, or at work. That nobody's talking about it.
Well, when they suck, the whole city doesn't even care about them.
Yeah, exactly.
What about in Toronto? You been to any Leafs games?
I've been to 2 games. Luckily, I've got some friends who have some corporate hookups.
There you go. It's always nice to have those friends. You get the text Friday afternoon, hey, you want to go to a game?
It makes a difference, because it is impossible to get to a game there. Not only like when they did well this season too, so they had so many sold out games that even if I wanted to go, you're spending an arm and a leg.
How much is a beer at that rink? $8?
So more.
More than $8.
Oh, it's probably like, by the time you're like tax and tip in, it's like closer to $20 for a big beer.
15 something. I remember
it costs money to go watch hockey. That's for sure.
Even like at the Bell Center, it's the same price no matter what it is. So like even concerts and stuff like that. I went to a concert with my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Bought a round for the 3 of us, and I had no money left. I was like, well, boys, that was all my money.
That was the round.
Somebody else is getting the next round.
It's the corporate experience going to these games, man.
It was really interesting. Like the first time we went, my fiance is from Winnipeg, and so I've kind of by survival tactics have become a Jets fan. So we got to see the Jets play in Toronto a couple years ago.
Great team.
And we were like in the high seats. But it was a great experience. everyone like in the stands in that section was like having a good time and like they're having drinks and stuff. And the second time I went to a game, I was in the lower bowl, kind of surrounded by suits, and they take their time like coming back into the second and third period, like the seats aren't full. And I always wonder, like when I watch the game, you see all the like platinum seats and gold seats and they're always empty. It's like, why are they like, the game's been on for 5 minutes in the second period and nobody's back in their seat. Well, I got to experience that on the bottom side. Well, they have like restaurants and bars and all this kind of stuff. So people are, waiting for drinks and having drinks between periods, and they're having their drink instead of getting back to the game. And it was a different
It's
experience.
like a club. It's like a social thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the cool people. You got to be seen there.
Well, Drake opened up a club in the ACC for Raptors games and stuff too, right? So it's a different sports experience for sure. The best, like the most recent best sport experience I've had in Toronto though is the TFC games. That's the soccer.
I've heard that.
It's a blast, man. It's a lot of fun, and the location is great. It's right on the water. It's kind of like the best Toronto experience you can have right now.
They won last year, didn't they?
Yeah, and
were you at the game?
No, but their team is great. Like, and it's just so much fun. Toronto's so multicultural to begin with, and there's so many soccer fans there that the stadium's packed. They added more seats during the Pan Ams 2 years ago, and it's still packed out, and it's just a lot of fun. The environment's really cool. They tried to get Lacrosse to go in that same stadium in BMO.
That'd be cool.
And like same kind of thing, like there's no promotion, no exposure to it, so that has moved 2 or 3 times since being in Toronto. But yeah, I mean, TFC is a lot of fun.
I feel like the soccer matches are the thing to do now, because they're not that expensive either.
No, tickets are really reasonable. And the other sport that is new to Toronto too is rugby with the Wolfpack. So that's something I want to check out too this season.
Isn't there a team in Montreal, MLS?
Yep.
The Impact.
The Impact.
That's where I was. The name was
and
coming from.
I've been to one of those games. It's a lot of fun.
I've been to one too. The blue seats right in the stadium. Yeah, that's a great time.
It's great, and they got the big old bell.
Do they? I don't remember that.
They must not have scored that game.
I don't remember. I was well. The thing was, I went to the game. I didn't, not for this reason, but I got a ticket. And the ticket, if you were over 19 or 18, whatever the drinking age is, there you got a free hot dog and a beer with the ticket.
Perfect.
Sold.
Yes,
we're walking
absolutely.
by. He was like, "Yeah, we'll go." Nothing to do. It was great. There's a soccer team here in Halifax now.
Oh yeah.
The Wanderers. Or no, the Wanderers, I think they're called. They're over by the horse track, the horse track race over there. What do you say?
The Wanderers ground.
Yeah. Oh, maybe. Is that what it is? Is that what it's called?
I'm not sure. But that's
they used to play lacrosse there. Actually, it's right next to like the museum. They put up like pop-up stadium.
Yeah, I know where you're.
Yeah, that's
talking about.
So our dad is actually working on. We're just consulted on that. So this coming weekend they're doing a Canada-US rugby game there.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
there's a bunch of stadiums. There's like pop-up stadiums all around it.
I think that's what it's for.
That's what it's. Yeah.
It's next weekend, I believe.
And then I think.
Well, then there you go.
And then I think the soccer will go in there after. But that's something that if you're in Halifax next weekend, you should be going to check out, because that
Canada,
kind of exposure.
US.
If you like any sport, period, like going to see Canada and US play rugby,
that's a big deal.
It's going to be huge. Yeah. So to be able to see like those guys at that top level play a different sport that's a little bit niche and that's good exposure to a great sport too.
And a high caliber. Like they're good players if they're playing for Team Canada and Team USA.
Yeah.
So why not go out and check it out?
When's the game?
Next weekend.
Yeah, next Saturday maybe.
That would be good content to go do, like street interviews, like talk to people
Absolutely.
about it. That could be good.
Yeah, for sure. It's right downtown, so why not?
Is it so? It's just one game?
I think so. Yeah,
that'll be sick.
But it's like 15 aside, like full style rugby. So
I've never seen a rugby game.
Go check it out, dude.
Now's the time to do it.
I will. Everyone else listening, make sure to go do it as well. We didn't even get to any questions that I guess we got to most of them. I didn't even look at this piece of paper. I wanted to talk about Brazil. I've always wanted to go to Brazil. I know you guys spent time there. How sick was Brazil?
It was amazing.
It was a great experience for sure.
A lot of like when I listen to mainstream media talk about Brazil, I hear like poverty and it's dangerous and things like that. But I don't listen to mainstream media as much these days. So maybe you guys could give me a firsthand experience of what it was like.
When we were there was a lot more security going around because they were leading up to the Olympics, which makes a lot of sense. But it's like anywhere. If you're not paying attention,
Yeah.
somebody will try and steal your gold chain or whatever you're wearing.
Yeah.
But if you're paying attention and don't be super flashy and like showing off of like taking out a wad full of money, it's like just don't be an idiot. Essentially,
Just smart traveling.
We didn't have any issues at all while there.
Yeah, and I get to go down twice, and like the first time I went by myself, and my parents were there. So, but I went to the beach by myself, and then went again with Mika, and we never had any issue. But it's just that it's like, you know, you're traveling, you're in a foreign place, you don't speak their language, like have your head on a swivel.
Yeah.
Don't pull out wads of cash. Like, just be smart. Don't be an idiot. And like, we obviously,
the people there were so nice.
I was gonna say, how are the people? They're nice
so
people.
nice, and like they'll try and communicate. They don't speak much English either.
Yeah.
But they'll try and communicate, and all you need to know is Cappy vodkas on the beach are really cheap and really
drink
good.
a lot of them. But no, like it's an amazing place, and like the landscape is gorgeous, and like the people are super amazing. And if you get a chance to go, you should definitely go. There's obviously like kind of ebbs and flows to their government and their safety and stuff like that, because they're technically second world, I guess. But it was such a great experience to be able to travel that far south, and like,
and we were right down by Ipanema Beach, which is one of the main beaches. There's Copacabana and Ipanema,
like the girl
from Ipanema song.
I don't know. You're over my head. I don't get that.
Okay, YouTube it.
I'm not gonna sing it for you.
Okay. Did you guys go up and see the Jesus guy? The Jesus with
Christos.
Christos.
Yeah.
That's his name.
Yeah.
How was that hike?
It was there were a lot of people, obviously. It's a big travel spot, but it was still really cool to go up there. We drove up in a Jeep and drove us up right to the top, and then got off and walked up right next to him.
Yeah, I think one of the best things you can do traveling is to get on any kind of tour, because they're going to expose you to obviously like all these big spots that you want to see anyway. And anywhere I go, I usually end up doing that, because you just get to all the main spots in like one day or one afternoon, whatever it is. And we did that. I did that with Mika when I was there, and we went everywhere that we wanted to go, hit all the main spots. And then because our parents had been there for a long time, like my dad was there for 4 years by the end of it, we were able to, like, if we wanted to see something in more detail, we could go back. We drove up the coast to Buzios, which is like north of Rio, I think. And
don't quote me on that.
Don't quote me on that. You look at a map. But that was like a whole different experience. And like, it's an old fishing village. And it was amazing. Like, everything is so lush there, and the water is like so blue. And
I love it.
Talked about surfing, and that was one, like,
you surf?
I got into surfing a little bit. That's one of the places the first place I ever surfed was in Brazil. So that's an experience. But it was amazing. And like, I'm getting a surf lesson from a guy who speaks Brazilian Portuguese, and it was a lot of hand signals and like a lot of water in my mouth, but
you got up there.
Oh yeah. Well, I got up on the first try.
There you go.
Obviously.
Did you propose to your wife in Brazil?
I did, yeah.
I was gonna say, I saw a picture of you on your knee and some palm trees and a beach. I was like, wait a second, it's coming full circle.
He was tying his shoe.
He was tying his shoe. There you go.
So like, I had already kind of known that I was going to propose in Brazil, but I didn't know where. Like, I didn't have it all planned out.
Yeah.
And my dad said, hey, like, let's go to this local beach. It'll be a little bit less touristy, less people walking around and all that. So we went up to this local beach, and there was just big mountains filled with trees in the background. And then you look out on the beach, and it's just water forever until the skyline.
Deadly.
And I was like, man, this is pretty cool. And I told my mom, and I was like, this is where I'm gonna ask. And she was like, oh, this is so exciting. You know how my mom is. So then, like, we were about to leave, so we packed up all our stuff. My mom told my dad, and then they were like, oh, like, let's get a picture before. And so Julie and I stood on the side, and my dad and my mom both had their phones out, and she was like, why are they both taking a picture? And then
exposed.
And then way to blow it.
And then my dad was like, all right, we're good. And then so I
pulled it out
on a knee.
There you
Didn't say
go.
much because I was super shy saying it in front of my parents, but got the words out. Will you be my wife and marry me? So
Some combination of those words.
yeah. Luckily there were waves in the background, so you can't hear me in the video. It's
There you
perfect.
go. Was it just a simple "Will you marry me," or did you be like? Were you like? You know, actually, you
There
know
was
what?
no big speech.
No big speech?
The big speech was planned, but didn't end up happening. I said to do it afterwards.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
Got it done. And
Yeah.
you're getting married soon.
Yeah, end of August.
Congratulations, sir. Sir, where are you guys getting married?
Brockville, Thousand Islands. Mika's dad has their family home is there.
Deadly.
And
Wicked.
Yeah, so it's a bit of like a destination wedding for our guests to fly into Ottawa or drive down from Toronto. But
It's a beautiful spot.
yeah, it's pretty amazing. They're right on the St. Lawrence, like on the water.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You said in August.
End of August, yeah.
Great month.
Yeah, it should be like we pick the end of the month. It's always dead calm there and nice and warm, and that it's going to be a good weekend for sure.
All right.
So Joe tried to one up me and asked him Barbados because I asked him
man?
Brazil.
Just let him have his glory.
That's all right. I
Brazil.
beat him to the punch. So
This is the only time he's ever paved the road for me, so I let him.
That's that well played. Well, man, proposing in hot climates is great because now you guys have like a connection back to these places.
Yeah.
You just
Keep
can
going
go back
back.
there anytime.
yeah.
Exactly.
That's what-
Pro tip.
Yeah, pro tip, exactly. Propose in hot climates so you can go back there. Where you go? Do you got a honeymoon planned out or anything?
Yeah, we're doing Portugal, Morocco, and
Portugal.
Barcelona.
Barcelona is my favorite place to go in the world. Portugal is my dad's favorite place. Have you been to Portugal?
Never.
I hear
They're
it's
all
incredible.
new spots for me.
Oh, Barcelona. You'll love Barcelona.
Yeah.
Are you guys going right after the wedding?
No, like a month after.
Still.
Yeah.
Incredible. September's a great month.
And Morocco, we're looking forward to that. That's going to be amazing.
Deadly. All right, fellas, we're running up on an hour here, so I want to thank you again for coming on the podcast. I know you guys leave today, so squeezing me in, I appreciate it.
Of course, man.
Yeah, when are you guys coming back?
I don't know. Nothing planned yet. It's kind of a busy whirlwind of a summer, so we'll try to get back whenever we can, honestly.
I might be back at the end of July, maybe. We'll
Okay.
see. I have 2 weeks off from work, so we'll see what happens.
Well, if I'm ever up in Montreal or Toronto, I'll bring the mics up. We'll do it again.
Dude,
Definitely, yeah.
Sounds
Yeah, for
good.
Sure.
All right. Well, everyone listening, I appreciate the support. If you could go to all of our social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, iTunes, like, subscribe, comment, I would appreciate it. I love you guys. We're out.